Okay, so what I've done is I've created two more graphs. So as you can see, I've created a graph for the box office revenue. So I've done that in a similar way, but obviously using a different set of data. And I've also selected the box office revenue and the budget in order to create one of these scatter graphs. I'll very quickly highlight the main changes or main differences between this scatter graph and the other two graphs. Now, obviously, the first thing I had to do is I had to select the relevant columns, which I showed you at the end of the last video. What I've also done is I've changed this in the setup. I've actually changed the chart type to a scatter graph. Okay, so what the scatter graph does, as you may know, is actually pins where the two columns meet. So it's actually taken the box office revenue, put it across the line here, find out exactly where it's met in terms of the budget, and it's placed a dot there. What I've also done, as you can see, is this line of best fit. So what I've done is if I go to customize, and in series, if you scroll down, it actually asks you if you want to send a trend line. So that's obviously taken the trend based on all of this data. It's more of an average or the line of best fit. So anything below that line, we can actually see it's obviously below that line of best fit. If we see something above that line, it's done extremely well. So we can see this film here, for example. This film here has made one of the highest box office revenues with making use of the lowest budget. So that would be an interesting film to look into. However, once you've done the graphs, the next thing you want to do is you want to actually gather some of the data. You want to see exactly how well everyone has done in terms of the average return on investment. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take each of these genres or directors and actors, and we're going to actually measure how well they have done. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at exactly how many films they appear in. So we're going to make use of a function called COUNTIF. So if I type in equals COUNTIF, I'd open my bracket. I'd actually come across to my other worksheet, and I'm going to think about, okay, where am I going to count this data? Obviously, the genre will be in these two columns. So what I've told it to do is count in these two columns, comma, and I want you to count wherever you find the word action, close bracket. So now what it's done is it's taken those two columns, counted action, and it's actually found action 134 times. Now what I'm going to do is, like we know, we just simply double click or drag that down, and that will tell me exactly how many times each genre has come up. Okay, so I'll very quickly do that again for directors. Okay, so that was equals COUNTIF, open bracket. I want to come over to my main worksheet. Where are the directors? They're in these two columns here, comma. I'm going to come back to directors. What do I want it to look for? I want it to look for wherever it says Adam McKay, close bracket, and now I'm going to drag that down all the way, and we can see exactly how many times each name has come up. Okay, what I can also do is I can actually use this button here to create a filter. Let me extend that, and I'll actually use this button here, and I will get it to sort A to Z. So David Leitch, for example, has not come up at all. And who has come up the most? It's actually David Ayer, not sure. Now, if David Leitch has come up 0 times, we may have an issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up back here. I'm going to use my Control and F. That will help me find some sort of data in that sheet. Okay, so it's actually found Leitch here, but obviously there has been a problem there. So what I will do is I will remove that, and now when I come back to the directors, it should have found it once. Okay, so that's how we do the COUNTIF. So you may want to actually use a find function again at some point. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to check the average return on investment for each genre. So I know exactly how many times adventure has come up, but I now want to check the average ROI. I'm going to put a title, average ROI. And I'm going to, now this is a pretty long formula. Okay, so we're going to say that if it has crime in the genre, then take the ROI, keep on doing it, and then calculate the average at the end. So the way we're going to do this equals array formula. Okay, we're going to open a bracket. Okay, so that array formula, what that means is that that's actually telling the spreadsheet to go through the whole column until you find this data. And when you find it, add it to a list, and then carry on going and find that next piece of data, add it to a list. And then we will have that data at the end. Once we've got all of that data, what we want to do is we want to calculate the average. Okay, and we are calculating the average of the data if, okay, so we've got an if statement there as well. So in this sense, we have the genre. So we're going to come back and we're going to say, as long as the genre, okay. Now, one mistake you might make is whilst you're doing this, you might flick back onto this. Sometimes that may actually remove that and assume you're trying to do it in this worksheet. So bear that in mind. We're going to say, as long as that is equals to A2, comma, okay? So as long as we find either in D or E movie data, as long as we find that it's equal to action, we want to take the ROI, okay? So we're not going to highlight this, so we're actually going to highlight the whole column. Okay, now as you can see, we've opened 1, 2, 3 brackets, so we need to make sure we close those 3 brackets. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let me explain that formula again. So if the movie data in D and E is equal to whatever is in A, so if that column contains action, I want you to take the ROI. I want you to calculate the average whilst you're putting them all in a list. So we've got a long list of 134 ROIs, and the average ROI for that is 2.14. And when we calculate that as a percentage, we would see that that's actually 214%. Okay, so based on this data, we can actually see, and what I will do again, I'm going to add another filter and sort. I'm going to sort it based on this. So we can see that horror has been the highest average ROI, and the lowest is sports, only 53%, 54% if we round it up. But obviously, we want to think about how reliable is that data as well. So this based on 5 films, this based on 2 films may not be the most reliable. However, this based on 54 films can be more reliable. 141 films, definitely very reliable. Okay, so we need to think about that as well. I'm going to show you how to do that again. So we want the title, average ROI. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is make use of that array formula. Open bracket, we're going to use an average. Open bracket, we're going to use an if. Okay, that's the easy bit done. Okay, now we're going to come back over to our movie data, and bear in mind we're now looking at directors. So wherever the directors is equals to David Leitch, comma, I want you to return the ROI. Wrong worksheet. I want you to return the ROI, calculate the average, 3 brackets open, 3 brackets now closed, and that's his average ROI. Okay, I filtered that down all the way. Let's add the filter again. And let's see which director has actually done the best. So we've actually got this guy here, or this gentleman here, should we say. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name, but he's done very well. However, that's only based on one movie, which could have been a lucky shot. Where we've got James Wan, who's got 3 movies, that could be a bit more reliable data. We've also got another 3 here, Steven Spielberg. That could be a bit more reliable. Obviously, that's more reliable than just basing that on one piece of data. So you should have done that for the genres, directors, and actors. Okay, bear in mind, obviously, actors, we're looking at 5 columns rather than 2. And then once you've done that, then you should be going on to the next task, which I will explain in the next video.